from the precipice to set precedents, rock beats, impeach presidents. What I'd like to know is who's the assholes who try to assassinate my character.
This is Ya Supreme from Brooklyn, born in Harlem Hospital. Lived there for 3 years, moved to Brooklyn, grew up in Brooklyn. That's what I identify with. That's all where my memories come from. Lollipops from Woolworths, the 3 Train. My government name, my birth name, Yahya, is John the Baptist in the Quran. It's Arabic for John, and my parents are Muslim, so that's what they raised us on, and they got all our names from the Quran, but they would call me Yah for short.
I watch minstrel shows on Warner Brothers and caricatures. I want brothers torn asunder cause the avarice lost. I do average chore on any avenue, forge my own path. Analyze it from afar like a voyeur with a telescope on a voyage.
It's funny, the Supreme, I threw on in 4th grade or something like that. I just made it up. I just needed a street name because I was so street, obviously. But I just put it on there. It was a real tongue-in-cheek thing, but it kind of stuck, Ya Supreme. And, so when I started to rhyme, that I said, all right, I'll use that as my handle. What I interpret it to mean is that it's Yah trying to get to my own pinnacle, not to be judged or gauged against any standard, but just by my own principles that I set and expectations I have of myself. It's just a reminder that I have to try to excel. I have to try to get as good as I can be. And right now, since my energies are in music, I have to really try to leave a mark.
I never was the cat's meow when I was younger, but ask me now, pastory now. It's hard work like you have to crash glass to rebound.
I think I first started to commit rhymes to paper. I was 18 and I just started college. I was doing a work-study job as a custodian at the medical school of my campus. Basically, it was Windexing glass doors at the library and, polishing the elevator doors, cleaning the bathrooms, vacuuming the auditoriums. And so you just had a lot of time to yourself, just you and your thoughts. And so I loved hip hop growing up and, knew all the words to every song. And so, I used to just kind of occupy myself going through songs in my head. And eventually other stuff would come out.
And I will make it last forever in the naked city that's like Alcatraz. My ass is left with no other alternative but to hover like a star in the firmament.
Like, where's that from? No, that's not him. That's not. I mean, it was definitely influenced by groups that I was really into at the time, but it wasn't. They never said it, and so progressively, I would get the random thoughts, the phrases that would pop in, and just kind of add on phrases. And then after a while, I realized I should probably start to write them down because, based on my taste in hip hop and in music, I thought that they were, decent rhymes. So I said, well, no one's going to say it except me because I keep coming up with this stuff. I'm not hearing it said. So I started to write it down. I think probably the first song I wrote, like I said, I was in college. It might have been called In the Dorms, because I lived in the dorms at the time. So, I was just trying to speak on my reality.
I met Ya in St. Louis, where I'm from, and he was going to school out there. And I was partners in a clothing store, a hip-hop clothing store. And the place was only open for about 9 months, but he lived 2 blocks down and became pretty much our best customer.
I noticed they had a turntable set up in there because he produced for his group at that time, and they would use the store as a rehearsal space after hours. So, I had been writing for a few years to that point, and I had started to really try to write songs, but I needed production. So I realized he was a producer. I said, okay, we should try to do some work. So, I kind of just stayed on his case and stayed around.
He had a group that needed beats, and so I started doing beats for them, and they started doing shows with a group that I was in, and that's how it went. And there were a lot of us, I guess, that were all running together at the same time, but eventually it just got down to me and Ya, and we moved out here.
We decided, move to New York, I came back to Brooklyn and, we set up shop here. We were young and didn't really know what the hell we were doing. So we pretty much thought that, careers as full-time musicians was just around the corner. So we said, all right, let's just stick it out a little bit longer. That was 95 or so.
I'm living just enough for the city and live it, which intimidates strangers on strap hangers. Other MCs despise me, son. Eyes is on the prize on the horizon. My pie's on you, my rising sun. My pythons swing heavy and strike.
My brother was waiting for the phone company to install his phone one day, and I was unemployed and I was pretty broke. I remember I went out to his place since I didn't have a job, and he said, can you wait for the phone company to hook up my line? I said, okay. So I had basically a token to get over there, but I didn't have any other money. Well, I had enough money to buy, a pack of cigarettes and at least have something to smoke, or I could get, car fare back. So after the phone company left, I was like, well, you know what, I can walk home. And it was, I was all the way out in East New York. And at the time we lived in Park Slope. And I said, well, you know what, I'll cut through East New York, I'll cut through Brownsville, cut through Crown Heights, Prospect Heights. I walk past the library, past Prospect Park, and then, then I'm home free. It was a thunderstorm that day too, but I happened to have an umbrella. I walked across Brooklyn. I walked through all the neighborhoods that I played in, grew up in, lived in, past all the sites that I went by, and I was just kind of collecting my thoughts because, when you don't have money and a job, you got a lot of time to think. And a lot of times those thoughts bother you. But that day I felt like I was pretty much at rock bottom, not in terms of the ability to get something going, but okay, I don't have any more money. I spent the money that I had on some cigarettes. I'm walking across Brooklyn. It's raining. I don't have a job. Whatever. When I got home, I walked into my room and there was a cassette tape standing up on my stereo, and it said it was a gray Maxell, and it had the white sticker on it. It said "play this" in all caps with 3 exclamation points following it.
I think I was probably in a bad mood about some woman or something, or whatever. And so I mean, I like listening to ballads a lot. If I'm going through records, even if that's not what I'm looking for, I'll just stop and listen to the whole ballad. I'm a sucker for that sort of thing. So it was a jazz ballad, and I just took little sounds from it here and there. And since his drummer was only playing brushes on it, it was real light, so I could, work the drums around it, and just kept it pretty simple. And I knew that was what I was looking for, so I put it on a cassette.
I put the tape on, and it's this instrumental, and just right away, I knew the song. And that happens sometimes. You just hear the instrumentation and you know exactly what needs to be said. And I just spent that day, just put my whole life in perspective. And so I was able to, it was just right there. It was raw. It was in front of my face. So I used it. And that was the first time we both knew that, as a producer, as a writer, we had something to go to another level.
I don't advise you to take what you do in stride, but don't worry yourself to suicide. Just because what we have is much more than they could see. In other words, extraordinary. Now check it out, I'm an alternate type of fella, whether on instrumental or acapella. Talk to me so you can see the awfully lonesome nature of lunacy stalking me. It's like being surrounded by a gang of bikers.
When we recorded that, you just kind of knew that if people didn't like that song, then just don't bother to do anything else.